Hey guys, welcome to the Hoan Zone, where we help you multiply the assets you own. In today's video, I am going to be going over the process of buying a home, but I am going to be talking about it from the buyer's perspective and the seller's perspective. As you guys know, we talk about multiplying your assets, but every once in a while you may want to flip a property that you have. So when you're going to flip a property, it's very important that you know what's going to be happening. And it's very important that you know what your buyer is going to be going through as they buy that house. Now, if you're the buyer, there's a whole bunch of things that you have to do beforehand for you to buy the property. And as the seller, there's a bunch of things that you need to know about in terms of what they're doing so that you don't get frustrated through the process because it's going to take a while. Now, for most people who are buying a house, they are going to get a mortgage. Technically, it's give a mortgage. You're going to give the bank a mortgage, but who cares? You're going to use a mortgage to buy that house. That means you're going to have to get qualified for that house. And in order to get qualified, you're going to have to go to the bank with all of your paperwork, and they're going to see if you can afford the house that you actually want. So you're going to get pre-qualified for a certain amount of money. What they're going to do is they're going to pull your credit report, and they're going to see what shows up. On that credit report will be all of the debts that you have, and it's going to show the minimum payments that you owe to all of those debts each and every month. And then they're going to add those up, and they're going to be like, that is what your debt is every single month. And then they're going to see how much money you make. And then through that, they can reverse engineer how much you can afford principal, interest, taxes, and insurance wise. So that is how you're going to be shopping for your house. I've even built a calculator to show you the debt to income ratio that the bank is going to be looking at. Look in the description. The video link will be there on the previous video that I did on that calculator. But let's get back to it. So when you get your pre-qualification from the banker, whatever you're using, then you're going to go shopping. There's going to be a house that you like, and then you're going to put a down payment, and then you're going to buy the property. Now, here's all of the stuff that you're maybe not sure about in terms of the process. Everybody knows about that pre-qualification part. That's why I don't go too much into it. But the next steps is where people get a little confused. So you're going to walk around the house and be like, oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, me too. I love it too. And then you guys are going to put an offer in. Let's say your offer gets accepted. Now what? Well, most people, they schedule a property inspection. Smart thing to do. Probably going to cost you around $500. You're going to hire a company. They're going to walk through, and no matter what they find, they're going to give you a thick book of their findings. You paid them to find stuff. They will find stuff. They're never going to come back to you with like a one-pager and go, okay, this house is good. You should buy it. They're always going to find something, and then you are going to use that as ammunition to go lower the sale price. As I mentioned, the home inspector is going to find a bunch of stuff. Now, do you necessarily want all of those things fixed? No. But will you say to the seller that you want them all fixed? Yes. And then that's where another negotiation will occur. The first negotiation came from when you put the offer in. You put an offer in, they countered, you countered, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. You landed on a number. Now you get to go back to them and it's like, hey, I didn't know your house was so busted. I want to buy the house still, but I want you to either fix these things or give me a credit. As the buyer, when you go to submit that request for credit or repairs, make sure when you have all of the items, line items, do not put a price next to each one of those items. Give them a whole stack and then give them a price at the bottom. This way, the seller can't nitpick all of the things and say, oh, well, that I can do for less than that, and that I can do for less. And they'll go back and forth with you, and that's just another battle. So what you're going to do is you're going to lump them all together, and then you're going to have that price at the bottom, and it's like, okay, well, this is what I want discounted off that sale price. The seller is going to look at it and say, well, okay, I can't nitpick any of those things. This big number seems a little high. Instead of $20,000 credit, I'll give you $15,000. You as the buyer, though, you want it to land at 15 anyway. So you hit it with a 20, and then voila, you landed at your number. So you're happy. And the seller's happy because they don't have to fix it. Now, you could ask the seller to fix everything if you are not handy, if you don't have the contractors, if you don't have any of that, right? You could, and then this way, your price is going to be the same. You're not getting that discount. Or you can just put that whole list, put a big number, and then you get a discount. And maybe most of those items you didn't want fixed anyway. You were just trying to nitpick so that you can get a better price. Okay, so say that all went through and then finally you guys landed on your final price after the whole negotiation, after the repairs. Now, what else do you have to do as the buyer? Well, if you're in a judicial state, then you're going to get a title company to run title on the property. This way, when you're buying the property, it's going to be clean and clear of all liens, judgments, encumbrances, and any of that kind of stuff. You want it so that it's nice and clean where the deed is in your name and you're happy. Now, you also will have to have the lender give you an appraisal. The appraiser is going to schedule, come out and do the appraisal. They're going to run the comps and make sure that whatever you're buying it for, the price or the loan that they're going to give you will be enough to pay for the house. If it does not appraise, you're going to have a little bit of an issue. Sometimes buyers are willing to offer $20,000 more than the asking price, but then when the appraisal comes in, it comes in at the asking price, not 20 grand over. So now there's a mismatch of how much you're willing to spend and then the appraisal price. So there's a couple of things that could happen here. You as the buyer could just come to the table with more money. Or what I've seen in the past as well is the buyer says, hey, sell me the house, but I can't afford it at that higher price if it doesn't appraise because the lender is not going to give me enough money. I need you to come down on price a little bit more. But that happens a lot. Now, the other thing that happens, and this is like 2.0, is that the seller goes, look, I will sell you the house at the regular price and you will get the loan from the lender at the regular rate and terms that you were going to get before. But I still want that difference, and I know you can't afford that difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a second mortgage on the property for that difference, and you're going to pay me in monthly installments for that difference. So over the next 24 months, 36 months, whatever it is, you're going to pay me a monthly fee, and I'm going to have a second position loan against the property. So now you as the buyer, you have two lenders. You have first the bank that you're using, and then you have the seller who's giving you a seller finance second note. Most banks don't want you to have a second lien position on there. So this may have to happen after the transaction, so after closing. Now, I am not an attorney or a CPA or your advisor or a professional in any sense. I want you to just hear about this stuff and then talk to your professionals. I'm just a guy on YouTube just talking my stuff. All right, now time to go to closing. What do you got to do? Well, you've already given your down payment to your agent. So then you go to closing, and then you guys sign, and then the seller signs, and voila, the process is over, right? So that in a nutshell is the process as a buyer. As a seller, you have to be aware of all of the stuff that buyer is going through, right? They're going through the inspections and the appraisals and the and for the most part, they're confused every step of the way. They don't know what's going on. For a lot of people, it's their first or maybe second time. And if it's their second time, they hadn't bought a house since the first time, and that might have been 10 years ago. So they're going to be very lost throughout this whole entire process. So now you as the seller, your job is just to remain cool. And then you also as the seller need to remain cool when you get that inspection report back and know that all that stuff is going to be on there. And don't flip out when you see this giant book. That giant book was created because the buyer paid for an inspection. That inspector is going to find anything and everything just to make it something, right? Most of it, if your house is in decent condition, most of it is just garbage. So you can just negotiate and just give them that credit. So if you're a flipper, make sure you bake that in from the beginning. Just know that if you're going to sell it for $200,000, that a small piece of it was for this work. Just know it. Bake it into your formula. Now, in terms of cost, the buyer is paying for your transfer taxes on their side, and then they're going to be paying for title insurance and the inspection, like I said, and the appraisal and all that kind of stuff. On the seller side, the only thing the seller is paying for is going to be the commission for the agents, both sides, buyer and seller. The seller pays both sides. Typically 6%, sometimes it's negotiated to 5% or 4%, depending on how big the house is, how expensive the house is. So the seller is paying that. The seller is also paying for the transfer taxes, their half. So whatever the transfer taxes are for the transaction, just cut them in half, and that's typically each side's cost. And then the seller may be crediting the buyer for the repairs or just lowering the price or whatever. But that is it. That is it. The seller doesn't have to pay anything else. All right, guys, that is it for this video. Make sure you go check out my website, hoanzone.com. I am constantly updating it and putting new things on there. And I also have a free gift for you if you go to hoanzone.com. It is the Be, Do, Have planner. It's going to help you become who you want to become in order to get the results that you actually want. So make sure you check that out. And of course, if you like this video, then like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Believe it or not, I am not there yet. So let's get us to 1,000 subscribers so that I can look back when I'm at 100,000 subscribers and go, remember when I was trying to get to 1,000? So please, if you're watching this, help me out. Subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends. Definitely share it with your friends because finances affects everyone. And don't you want all of your friends to have better finances? So definitely subscribe, share it, like it, do all the fun things. You know what to do. All right, guys, that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you at the next one. Peace.